Okay, next person that doesn't know the combo to the safe is going to get shot in the face. You know, so I'm like, oh, the combo's this. I'm like, oh, that works. You know, the fact that we'd already taken fire on infill, and we had already lost one ranger who fell 90 feet of Blackburn. And when I look back, there were two people dragging Earl into their building, and I mean, I didn't see him get shot or anything. I just thought, what happened to Earl? You know, did he fall down? I mean, Earl got killed instantly. A bunch of the Adid's leaders were having a meeting there. It was just a home. And
was it a capture kill?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Hopefully to capture, to get information on Adid. Not sadly, but most of them died on the exfil in the 5-ton by their own people. But fought our way into that target, and they had already had everyone detained, you know, handcuffed, but they had pulled out to move to another building to pull a security. So we went in and started searching the building, finding AKs here and there underneath stuff. You know, they had these huge 50-pound bags of sugar. They were making Coca-Cola or something there. It was weird. I remember searching up top, like pulling out these 50-pound bags of sugar and looking underneath them. And one guy was handcuffed on the ground already. And I remember dropping one of those bags and it landed on him. He's like let out this moan. I'm like, oh man, you know, I didn't want to do that, right? And so we searched the whole place, and I'm asking people questions, and nobody's answering, right? And there's a safe there. I'm like, who knows a combo to the safe? Nobody's saying anything. All right, interpreter, who knows combo to the safe? I ask him. Nobody says anything. Okay, next person that doesn't know the combo to the safe is going to get shot in the face, you know? So I'm like, oh, the combo's this. I'm like, oh, that works, you know? Threatening people works. So open up the safe, sack of Somali money in there. I'm like, yes, I have a big score for me, right? Put it in a garbage bag, you know, and I got cash in a garbage bag. I got it on my shoulder. We're going to exfil. And I'm going to have this bag of cash, you know, I won the day. And so we're prepping for exfil. And I hear an RPG, and it's an explosion. I end up looking down the street, and it's one of the 5-tons got hit. And I'm like, uh-oh. Like, whoa, you know, like we're getting hit now. That's weird. The fact that we'd already taken fire on infill, and we had already lost one ranger who fell 90 feet of Blackburn. I don't know what either. You can grab the rope, the brownout, whatever, fell 90 feet and landed. Instantly had a medevac for him. And so I think they loaded him up on a Humvee, and we're driving back to try to get him, which saved his life. So we're down those people. And that was on infill. Catch back up to prepping to exfil now. I remember moving around that building to another courtyard, probably off of that building, metal walls, you know, the metal gates that they open and close. And there was a car parked in there. And there was 2 teams in there. My team and, I don't know, another team from us, and then some Rangers. And we'd shut the gate. We're kind of waiting on the vehicle convoy to roll up, and we'll get in and we'll go home. And I thought, well, I'm going to slash that wasn't first. And I remember standing there waiting to exfil. I'm laughing. I got the bag of cash on my shoulder. We're talking, man, I hope we make it back for dinner. You know, we're still cracking jokes. And then that Ranger's neck just opened up right there, and he kind of fell over. You can see a hole in the metal gate. And I'm like, you know, oh shit, the medics jump on him, start grabbing up his neck, and I'm like, oh, this is growing into something worse, you know? I remember getting nervous, but still like, we're gonna be home for dinner, right? You know, just joking around. And then another RPG, and I remember looking up and seeing it hit the helicopter, the tail of the helicopter.
You saw it hit.
Yeah, and it just started auto-rotating. I'm like, oh man, no, you know? And it crashed a little bit northwest of us, or northeast of us, and devised another quick plan, all right, calling up higher, you know, whatever team leader's doing at the time. I know now he was calling up higher, getting, you know, where's it at, guide me to it, get the convoy to go to it. You know, the mission had just changed. You know, now we got to get to that helo. Load up on both sides of the streets, you know, put out the wounded.
Did you know the pilots?
Know them? No.
Okay.
I know who they were, yeah. Their names a little bit, yeah. But no, I wouldn't say I knew them.
Okay.
You know, I used to say I knew everybody. I'm friends with everybody. Now I've learned that you're an acquaintance. You know, we're friends if you know my kids' middle names or something. You know, and then we're close. Back then, you know, well, we're all one. You know, but I couldn't say that I knew them. And I remember lining up on both sides of the streets and heading that way. You know, and just moving in a column both sides of the streets, cross covering for each other. And every intersection we crossed on our way was just a hail of gunfire. I remember looking
every single one, huh?
Yeah, every single one. And they were paralleling us, trying to beat us to the crash site. And so we knew we had to speed up, so we gave up security by using speed. And every intersection, just a hail of bullets. You had to just kind of wait and then go. And I remember going past one, and There weren't people at it, and I was kind of watching around the corner, waiting for other people to cross, and then this donkey comes walking across the street, just standing there like he's just chilling. And then we start taking fire, and I realize they're shooting from behind the donkey. You know, you start seeing feet behind the donkey. I'm like, all right, you got to drop the donkey to drop the dudes. I remember shooting the donkey, and it took off, and then those dudes are standing there with their, you know, guns in their hands, like, uh-oh, donkey's gone. I'm like, man, they'll do anything to get at us, you know? And I remember calling my team, or one of my friends over. I go, look at this thing, man. What's this donkey doing? Just standing there. He goes, I don't know, it's crazy. And then, you know, we get, you know, taking fire, so we realized what was happening. Kept moving down the street and finally turned to head north. And we had a couple blocks to go, a couple Somalian blocks to go, which is just, you know, not that far, probably 50 yards, maybe 100 yards at the most. And I remember turning the corner. The other team took the other couple teams took the far side of the street, and they were in the lit side. I think the sun was setting, you know, on this side now, and it's lighting up the east side of the street, so we weren't in as much. And they were taking more fire, and from up near the crash site. I remember my 2IC jumping out in the middle of the street, and I jumped out with him with my M4, and he shot the 203 down and literally hit this building. I mean, this little shack just past the crash site where one dude was in. And he just jumped out and boom. I mean, it was a lucky shot, and he knows it too. And it was one of those that hit it, and I was like, holy shit. And then one guy came running out, and we're sitting there engaging. But before I had walked out in the middle of the street with him, I remember looking over, and I saw Earl and his team shooting up the street. And when I looked back, there were two people dragging Earl into their building. And I mean, I didn't see him get shot or anything. I just thought, what happened to Earl? You know, did he fall down? I mean, Earl got killed instantly. Shot right through our plastic Protect helmets, you know, so we could be faster, right? Lightweight Protect skateboard helmets. We ended up pushing further down the street, worked our way down, and I remember Paul Howe was a team leader. He was angry. I remember his anger. And he had ended up on our side of the street somehow, and his team was on the other side. And we got down to the crash site, and our team ended up being the furthest north and the furthest west of all the fighting. We were that corner, with the crash site being here, and everyone else being this way down the street, injured and wounded, and the Rangers and whatnot. I remember Paul coming over just pissed off and screaming, and it's just all screwed up and blah, blah, blah. We got to take this house. I'm like, all right, Paul, but chill, bro, chill. I mean, this is, you know, you gotta be under. And he kicks the door, and we go in. It's full of women and one guy again. We end up corralling them all into the living room, the kids in the living room, and then this one guy handcuffed in the living room. We end up dominating that house, and that's where we stayed the rest of the night. Had a carport with a little metal roof covered, sliding into the carport. For some reason, it seemed backwards to me, with an entrance, you know, the kitchen off to the right, the living room off to the left, a little bathroom just off the kitchen, and then 3 bedrooms. Tiny, tiny little home. But it was right on the corner of the crash site, so we just occupied every room, pulling guard out every window. I didn't know anybody was killed or wounded yet. By then, before we even made it to that crash site, the rescue bird had come in. And they had fast rope. They took an RPG right to the rotor blades as they were fast roping into the crash site. And so they ended up, pilot held that beautifully. They ended up fast roping all in and then trying to secure the crash site before we even got there. And before we even got there, the Somalians had gotten there, and they were overwhelming the helicopter. So Dan Bush had jumped out and ran out of cover range and ran around the corner with a saw to dispatch as many Somalis as he could to defend the crash site. But he, in turn, got killed doing that as well. Got shot doing that. So another guy runs out and grabs him. Another sniper ran out and grabbed him. And as he was dragging him out of the way, a little bird came and landed in the intersection with the pilot shooting MP5s out the window to help them. He got shot through the neck, pulling Dan to the helo to put him in. And he tried to get back in the fight. And they wouldn't let him. They made him get on the bird as well, and they exfilled both of them, and Dan ended up dying of his wounds. And I didn't know any of that till the end.
These are all your guys?
Yeah. And so that's how the night started. No water, no night vision. We're set up poorly on an undominated intersection with a crash site. And they just kept coming.
Hey everybody, I'm Shawn Ryan. Click here to subscribe to the Shawn Ryan Show YouTube channel for the hottest and most compelling interviews that you will not see anywhere else. I've also made a playlist of all the previous SRS episodes so they're easy to find. You can find that right here.